Red Dead Redemption 2 is by far one of the most, if not the most, detailed game in the world right now, but did some people actually realise just how much time and effort Rockstar Games puts into this title? Actual working drain pipes, realistic animal behaviour, and lunar cycles are but to name a few of the incredible 50 details in RDR2 that I'll be showcasing today. As always, if you enjoy the following, you all know what to do, and if you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed already after watching today's content, please consider doing so. With that being said, let's get into what we came here to see, kicking things off with number 1. Whilst riding your horse through a body of water, if you repeatedly spin in a circle, you can actually create a small whirlpool. The large industrialised city of Saint Denis to the south uses pavement street signs as guidance, a replica of its real-life counterpart, New Orleans. Rabbits hide in trees when they're trying to avoid predators, just as they realistically would. If Arthur chooses to follow the NPCs of the world but doesn't interact, the NPC will react accordingly and display anger towards the protagonist about this.
I ain't asked you to follow me. You following me?
I don't like people following me.
If you head north to the much colder regions, such as the mountains of Amberino, without the correct warm clothing, Arthur will begin to shiver. When visiting butcher stalls, such as this one in Butcher's Creek, you'll notice that the flesher realistically cuts the slices of meat and places them into a bowl before moving on to the next piece. If you sit stationary for too long on the back of your horse, eventually your steed will become tired and begin to show signs of fatigue. Whilst out on the trail, Arthur will over time be dealing with the elements of the world. He can be covered in mud, grime and dirt, as well as blood depending on his actions, but if you watch closely, particularly in warmer climates, this staining will dry up and actually stick to Arthur's clothing. If you get a little too close to a wasp nest, the occupants will become hostile and begin to swarm Arthur, enticing him to move away. As Arthur moves further and further from the nest, the swarm will begin to return to their home. Setting up small campfires in deep snow will melt the area around itself as expected. When out riding your horse, if you pay attention, you can see that Rockstar implemented realistic muscle movements on the animal using motion capture. Heading to the Appleseed Timber Company's base camp a little outside of Strawberry, you could witness the workers actually cutting the trees down to the ground. Being in the vicinity of intense heat, such as a thrown Molotov, will change the current in-game temperature depending on your proximity. Waters that have been plagued by oil spills and rotten animal carcasses will poison the fish inhabiting them. Upon catching them, Arthur will comment on this.
No, you don't look right.
When consuming a drink, such as this bottle of beer, if you watch closely, you'll witness Arthur's throat moving realistically as he swallows each gulp. Possums actually play possum. When approaching the animal, it will play dead as a defense mechanism in hopes of evading its predator. Inspecting a weapon closely, such as this revolver, before firing, you'll notice that all 6 chambers are full. After firing a couple of rounds off before reloading, inspecting the weapon once more will reveal that some of the chambers are now empty. If you crouch to rest a little, after a moment or so, Arthur will adjust his position by taking a knee to make himself more comfortable. The drain pipes, such as the ones in Saint Denis, actually perform as expected. After rainfall, you can view the water dripping from the spout. If you observe patrons closely whilst dining, you'll notice that as they consume their food, it actually disappears as expected, adding to the authenticity of the title.
Bonjour.
The lunar cycle in Red Dead Redemption 2 is accurate and coincides with the in-game time. The same applies to the sun rising and setting throughout the day. At the Central Union Railroad, if you pay close attention to the workers building the train track, you can see that the spikes that they are hammering do actually hammer down. The flag of the United States of America, set high upon this pole in Saint Denis, correctly has 45 stars on the face, accurate for 1899. Cat's eyes glow in the dark. If you check the temperature whilst outside, then enter a building, you'll notice that the temperature realistically has now changed to a warmer reading. If Arthur is caught in a snowstorm but manages to enter a warmer setting, you will notice that the snow begins to slowly melt from his clothing and hair, now becoming just cold water. Shooting at a wooden pig's trough will drain the water. The more holes in a trough, the faster the water will drain. Similar to the troughs, whilst in a wooden boat, if you shoot a hole through the hull, water will emerge into the vessel, eventually sinking it. Also similar to this, shooting at a wooden beer barrel will have the same effect. You get the point. Footprints left in the mud will differ depending on Arthur's footwear, including if he's not wearing any boots at all. In the Valentine Sheriff's Office, there's a ledger containing the names of prisoners. One of these, Stanley Lightfoot, was arrested for miscegenation, formerly known as amalgamation. This was disgustingly an actual crime during these times, where it was illegal for the admixture or marriage of two people from different races. Some buildings actually progress over time as workers put them together. If you shoot the town bell in Rhodes, depending on where you've targeted, it will produce different sounds. Arthur will make comment in an annoyed tone when he realises he didn't stock up on enough ammunition.
For Christ's sake.
Whilst walking through deep waters, Arthur will raise his firearm as to avoid it getting soaked, causing quicker deterioration. If you deliver a corpse to a pig pen, slowly but surely the animals will begin to feast upon it. During strong winds, Arthur's hair will move realistically in accordance to the weather. When bloodied or muddied, if Arthur travels through a body of water, the areas that become soaked can be cleaned this way. The areas that remain dry, of course, do not. When eating from a can, you can see that right before consumption, the contents are full, and right after, the contents are near enough empty. In the cemetery of Saint-Denis, the graves are uncommonly placed above ground. This is an accurate representation of its real-life counterpart in St. Louis, where the graves are the same. This is put in place due to New Orleans being below sea level, and any floods could and would cause the deceased to re-emerge. Both animal and human corpses will realistically begin to decompose over time. If you hogtie an NPC and place them in shallow waters, they will attempt to keep their head above water level to avoid drowning. After putting down an animal during hunting, when skinning, you can see that the bullet holes have accurately passed into the flesh too. Whilst an NPC is riding on horseback, if you take a successful shot at them, sometimes as their horse flees in fear, the now deceased person's leg will be caught in the stirrups, dragging them away. If you stand in the way of some projections, such as the small movie tent in the town of Valentine, Arthur's shadow will correctly cover some of the projection. Also, the motion picture will now be displayed on Arthur instead. When leaping in a high enough position into the waters below, Arthur will cannonball instead of face planting. You can wake sleeping animals by whistling. If Arthur attempts to make a purchase from any store whilst covering his face, the store owner will refuse service until he has removed the clothing item for safety.
Hello, you won't be needing the mask in here. You cannot wear that mask in my pharmacy.
Oh, okay then.
Thank you.
For our final detail today, you may notice that the town of Strawberry doesn't run on electricity. Back in the day, whereas electricity wasn't as commonly used as it is today, people would use gas lamps to light up areas. Strawberry has done this exact same thing. There are many more insanely accurate details in Red Dead Redemption 2, so if you wish to see me cover a second take on this, be sure to let me know in the comment section provided. What details are you aware of that weren't covered in today's video? Be sure to drop them too. If you enjoyed what you saw, you all know what to do, and if you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. With that being said, thank you all for watching. You've been listening to Phil of Filbee Gaming, and I'll see you in the next video.